welcome to Wowee, the show for people who are already celebrating the holidays and for people who are like, bitch, cool it. It's it's November 17th. What day is it? I'm Giulia Rozzi.
And I'm David Gborie, and I spread joy all year round. Go ahead and like and subscribe to Wowee, for the joy.
Joy for the season, and feel free to enjoy. Oh my goodness, this dog does not want to be here. Feel free to enjoy your preferred form of cannabis while you watch.
Or don't. I'm sure you have your reasons. Giulia, what week is it?
It's
what
gravy week. Perhaps our best week.
You know it's gravy week. Shout out to the gravy horns. My big question today, gravy boat or gravy barge?
A boat.
Yeah.
I mean, a barge is what, where the boats go into?
I think it's just a bigger boat, like an oil barge. I don't think anyone needs enough gravy to fill a barge.
No, I mean, a boat's already really stretching it.
It's ambitious.
Do you like boats in general? You boat
Yeah.
guys? Did we talk about this before?
I like boats. I don't
Really?
love open water.
Yeah.
Is that what you
yeah.
were trying to force my hand?
No, do you know how to swim?
Yes. Do you?
Okay. I can doggy paddle.
That's not quite the same.
Needed.
You won't die,
No,
is what.
my
That's the
dog
point,
is-
right?
Yeah. Sorry, my dog is tap dancing in the back. Can you see her?
I can.
The corner. She's like, what about me? Speaking of gravy and dogs, which have nothing to do with this, I wonder what today's theme is.
Let's see.
That's right. It's Weed Wednesday. You know what day it is. Today's theme is matters of unearned or unexpected money. Thoughts, David, on this theme?
I think that this theme has a lot less puns than I'm used to from our themes.
I love unexpected money.
Yeah, I mean, does anybody not?
Maybe somebody who's like a super control freak. Unearned? Is that like passive income or like gifts? Because I feel like all money.
You ever
is
get
earned,
money and
perhaps
you're like
emotionally,
I mean, like, you never get money and you're like, I don't know if the first 4 years I did comedy, I thought that I didn't earn any of the money.
Hello? Are we live? You
We're
guys,
back,
technology. We're back. David and I both agree that we are being punished because we are kind of earning unearned money smoking weed on the internet. Again, how is this a real job? How is it a real job?
They were coming for us. But coming up to earn that money, we're having a conversation about the legality of drug testing and more with lawyer Heidi Urness. We're going to get some answers.
But first, we have a Wowee test drive. This is when a friend of the show tries out a product and then tells us all about it in real time. And today's test drive comes from radio DJ Mike Shue.
How you doing? I'm Mike Shue. I'm from Worcester, Massachusetts. I work at a radio station there, and I'm also a cannabis enthusiast. What I like to do when I smoke weed is I like to play disc golf. That's what that is back there. Thanks to my friends at Wowee, they wanted me to try something out from nature's heritage. 1 gram pre-roll, Gills Nils. This is a hybrid that's pretty even from what they told me. Oh, this is gonna be a good round. I can tell right now. So real quick, the whole idea behind disc golf, it's like, I got to get this thing in the basket, which is way over there. And as you can tell right now, my sense of direction is terrible. So this is going to be a lot of fun. Oh boy.
Oh, stop. Look at that.
Oh, no. It's definitely not helping my game. Oh, too much. Oh. Nice even buzz, nice and chill. I like that, very relaxed. The key to disc golf is shutting off your brain for a little while, so definitely helped me do that. So thanks to Wowee for letting me do this test drive of Nature's Heritage Gills Nils hybrid 1 gram pre-roll. I highly suggest it whether you're playing disc golf or just sitting on the couch and binging something. The worst day on the disc golf course is still better than the best day at the office, right? Ooh, that's nice.
Have you ever played disc golf?
Of course I have. I co-host a marijuana show. I have no kids. I'm 34. I've played some disc golf. Have you?
No. I have a kid and I'm 43.
Maybe it's time to start.
Maybe.
It's really just walking around. Anyhow, do you play disc golf? Do you want to do a Wowee test drive? Well, hit us up at woweelive.tv/test drive, and you can do that. And while you're at it, go ahead and like and subscribe.
And our next guest is a talented attorney who you can follow at Mary Jane Esquire. Please welcome our friend Heidi Urness.
Hey guys, it's great to see you.
Great to see you. We love having you on and getting all the wild intel about law. I mean, honestly, what a fucked up system. I'm sorry. I've been on Twitter too much today. So right now the legal system is making me very angry without getting too political.
It's pretty infuriating to work in this space with all of these contradictions. But I gotta tell you, I'm really surprised to hear that you've never played disc golf before. It's so
right?
I'm shocked, actually.
I love mini golf.
Oh,
it's like the same thing, just like plus weed and a little more walking.
No. My favorite weed activity is a hammock, so.
I mean, that's fair.
All right, well, David and I will text you selfies from the course.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. I only need 3 discs. Okay, let's start, obviously, with drug testing, I think is where we're gonna go. I'm in Colorado, where adult use, totally legal. Do I still need to worry about passing a drug test for work? You know, like just in case Wowee goes bad and I have to go get another job at the car wash.
Yeah, surprisingly, you do actually. You know, even though Colorado was one of the first states to come online, it's actually been lagging in some of these regulations when it comes to catching up the rest of the world with their marijuana regulations. So Colorado is kind of an interesting one because, you know, Colorado as kind of a culture, a state culture, really sort of accepts and embraces marijuana, and they accept their role that they play in this kind of grand transformation that we're seeing. So even though your lawmakers haven't put new laws into place that protect you, what you're seeing is that employers in the state of Colorado are voluntarily deciding not to do this anymore. I actually just checked these stats on Colorado this morning, and it said 13% of employers no longer pre-employment test, and 7% of employers just simply don't drug test for marijuana anymore. But they've taken that on themselves. So it depends on where you're applying and what kind of job you're applying for. But yeah, you can still smoke legal weed and not be able to get a job in Colorado.
We were required to do a drug test to get this job, which is wild. What a turn of events. Every week they test our pee. No, just kidding.
Do you know if they tested for marijuana as part of it, or was it other drugs and alcohol?
No, I was joking.
Oh, okay. Well, it wouldn't be that
Oh, no,
weird.
no. No, I'm saying it would be hilarious if they tested us to make sure we did smoke weed and we weren't just on here being like, yeah, I love to get stoned. And we have, there's my pee and David's pee. Whose is whose?
I can't tell.
What a
Those
funny
are our
thing to start
headshots.
thinking about.
Yeah, we're just two old cups of pee on the internet, yelling into the void. Aren't we all just cups of pee yelling into the void? Serious question though. If a boss, not just in Colorado, anywhere, if a boss does try to make you pee in a cup, like what are you legally empowered to do? Do you have to do it? Can you refuse? Like, is it different in every state?
Well, you know what I say when people ask me, do they have to do anything? My answer is always, you don't have to do anything in this world. There's just consequences for it if you don't, right? So with respect to employment testing, if you decide that you don't want to take that drug test that they're giving you either before employment or after employment, you can say no. But depending on what state you're in, you might lose that job or that job opportunity. But you can't be criminally penalized for that at all. So you're free to say no. You just have to know that what you're doing is suffering the consequence of potentially giving up that opportunity.
Interesting.
And stupid.
I've often told people all I gotta do in this world is stay black and die. And I'm not adding drug tests to that.
No. And you know, if you want to get away from drug testing, there are some states that are starting to put in some new laws. But like any sort of exception to kind of our legal standard, there's just big, broad exceptions that kind of make the law meaningless if an employer really decides to, that they do want to test you. But in certain states, you know, we're seeing action in New York City, Philadelphia. As of January 1st in 2022, Philadelphia residents, you cannot be penalized for a pre-employment drug test that tests positive for marijuana. That's just starting to happen now. These things are starting to come online now. So if you don't want to get drug tested, one of the most robust states for that is the city of Atlanta, which is one of my favorite cities. I went to school in the Southeast, so it's close to my heart, and it's a blast of a city. But that mayor is very progressive, and she said that, you know, there's absolutely no evidence to say that individuals who use marijuana during their off time suffer any lesser performance at work. And she also cited, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I ordered weed this morning and I was looking at the reviews for one of these edibles, and one of the reviews was, my coworkers, they didn't say where they worked, they just said, my coworkers and I all took these together and went to work together, and boy was it fun and productive. That was the review for these edibles, and I was like, what a job. You know, they don't work at Wowee from what I know, but they work somewhere, and I don't know if it's like a weed-friendly place, but like, I just thought that was a hilarious review for edibles.
I hope it was like the DMV.
What was
The
it about
DMV, is that what you said?
I hope they worked
You
at the
hope it was
DMV.
Or like the post office? I mean, probably not, because those are both, what, federal? Is DMV considered a federal job?
Yeah.
You've got
Man,
it.
Those are the jobs that need it most.
I agree. I mean, if you think about, you know, we're talking about drug testing, and I'm not talking about, you know, public safety positions. I'm not talking about Department of Transportation licensed truck drivers. I'm not talking about caretakers and nannies. You know, it seems to be that if you are in a position where you have high stress, you are tasked with caring for others, and in many cases, you're granted, you know, large firearms, those individuals are not allowed to be utilizing marijuana under these drug testing laws. That is still governed by the federal government. And interestingly enough, it's governed by the Department of Transportation.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I don't drive, out of a form of protest. That and some various other legal reasons. What? Back to smoking weed. What are the instances in which you can be fired over cannabis use at work? Like, is there any time I can kind of, because I smoke weed at work actually fairly regularly.
Yes, and you're not alone. A lot of people find that it increases their productivity and it helps them focus and all of these things that we think are kind of contrary to the stigma. So you're certainly not alone. But I will tell you that in every state, even states that are passing these new permissive laws saying that you can't be drug tested for marijuana before employment, if they have a suspicion that you are intoxicated while at work, then they can impose a test on you because they say it has to do with their performance, their safety, all of these different things. So if you are actively high at work and you're not someone who's very good at disguising it, that's probably going to be a problem for you no matter what state you're in.
Man, I just keep we've talked about this on the show before. Like, there's certain people, myself included, that have a really hard time not announcing that they're so high. So thank God I work in comedy where no one gives a shit what you're doing. In fact, they pay you in alcohol often and or weed. So no testing of anything there. But yeah, it would be real problematic if I was still like an office manager, because I would just be like, who's stoned today? They'd be like, get out.
You know, I worked in a law office once where clients would want to come in and smoke, and they'd bring their product, and they'd sometimes bring a whole rig. And, you know, I have no problem with marijuana. I love it. But right before a hearing or if I'm writing a court brief, it's not really always the best. So I had a secretary who was really good at smoking weed, and I would send her into the conference room and she would do kind of the pre-introductory meeting, and I'd walk into this just whole cloud of smoke and they'd be ready to go.
How do you get that job?
Can you imagine? I don't know if any of you guys have ever been a temp, but like years ago, I used to temp, and I would die if I was filling in for the secretary and they were like, now part of your day is to go in there and get high. I'd be like, this is a prank show, obviously, right? Like, this is a setup. Am
I doing something wrong? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
But it was good business, frankly.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's the price. That's the cost of doing business.
You gotta get high. Amazon recently made headlines for removing cannabis as one of the substances they test for, and made anyone previously fired for weed-related violations eligible to reapply for their jobs, which I don't know why they have to reapply. They should just get the job back. But anyways, okay, so this seems almost compassionate for Mr. Bezos, kind of. Is this a growing trend in corporate policy? Like, is it affecting federal law in any way?
You know, a lot of times in marijuana, we do see that these private companies are going to lead the way and then the government has to catch up. And that's just a matter of the fact that our government is filled with a bunch of, in many cases, older folks who have not kind of come along to this kind of modern idea of what marijuana is. But frankly, you know, before we get all excited about, you know, I'm here in Seattle, so we call it Bezos balls, right? Because he put up that big structure right in the middle of downtown Seattle that is balls. So before we get all over Bezos balls, you know, I think the important thing to remember is that Bezos has a business that he doesn't want to go under. And one of the things that you need to do in running a business is comply with the law. So if you're starting to get into the position where you're applying your policy in one state, the same way you're applying your policy in another state, and the way that's working out is actually discriminatory against individuals, then you've got a problem within your business and you're going to have a legal challenge to any drug test you try to do, because you're not executing it in a uniform, non-discriminatory way. So I don't think that Amazon really wants to say, hey, all you weed smokers, come over and work for us. But I think what they're doing is really self-serving. And they're saying, okay, we're not going to be doing these tests, so we can't get any lawsuits from someone in Massachusetts versus someone in Washington. But also they're saying, hey, there's a big, recession happening. There's this kind of great restructuring, particularly within the tech world, where everyone is going to get these higher salaries. And these tech companies are seeing a huge attrition right now, huge. And so I think they're saying, hey, we just need to get more talent, and we want the best talent to come to us. And so we'll give them this benefit, which is that we're not going to drug test them.
Amazing. That's how Wowee did it. We actually have a caller. If you'd like to take a caller question right now.
Yes, I hope it's drug testing stories, because these things get really crazy. Have you ever heard of people buying fake pee off the internet? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Heard of? I have. Yes, I have heard of that.
Yeah, so I would love to hear what callers have to say about this topic.
Well, let's check in. Harold, are you there?
I sure am.
And where are you
Hi,
calling
Harold.
from today, Harold?
Lucky Harold is in Malibu, California.
You look lucky. What's your question?
So, Heidi, first of all, the story ends with a happily ever after, but a little over a year ago, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. They successfully removed it. And over the course of the last year with chemo and everything, I've lost about 50 pounds. And my doctor, I thought he was joking. About 6 months ago, he goes, "Have you ever had cannabis?" Yes. He said, "I recommend cannabis to help you bring back some pounds, get a little bit healthier."
Right.
My job requires a lot of travel, and so I'm going from state to state to state. Do you know if there is I know it's okay here in California, but is there a resource I can go to that tells me state by state what's legal and what's not weed-wise?
Wow, that's a great question. I don't think that there's really, off the top of my head, I can't really think of a national organization that would track that in kind of a really helpful way. But I think where you would be able to kind of suss out that information doing some of your own research is on the NORML website, NORML, the National Organization for the Regulation of Marijuana Legalization. So that is a great resource. Justin Streakel manages all of the PR over there. He speaks in a clear and concise way. And one of the things I really love about that organization is the way they organize their resources it's almost a running stream. So not only can you see what the regulation is now, but if you have any question, you can go back and look at the previous regulation that might have been in place a year ago. And when you see where those differences lie between those two laws, you'll have a little more insight into what's more permissible now and what's opening up to you. So that's a great resource to go to. But also, we were just talking the other day about cannabis businesses and how does someone get into the cannabis industry. What a cool need you just identified there of these medical patients who need to be able to travel and get these resources, and they're technically not allowed to fly with them. I mean, that would be a great entry point, and I think you'd be helping a lot of people.
You know what I'm doing right now? When I get my chemo pills, they come in a little plastic bag that says chemo, caution, warning. And so I put my edibles inside with the chemo pills, thinking TSA is not going to want to mess with my chemo anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad idea. If you look at what's going on in the airports, if you look at the policy, if you look at the actual enforcement trends, we're not seeing it at airports for individual use, not at all. The federal authorities don't have the resources to really dedicate to that. So kudos to you for taking that extra step. But I have colleagues who routinely fly with it in their purses on the way to conferences and don't even take it out of the packaging. I would not recommend that. But I do think if you're deciding between the risk to your health and your risk from the federal government, I think you're making the right choice for yourself,
I'll tell them Heidi sent me.
Yeah, tell them to call me. Not a problem.
Harold, thanks so much for calling in.
Thanks for sharing, Harold.
Man,
That's
maybe
awesome.
Wowee should come up with that resource if there isn't one.
What a cool idea of just kind of, I mean, it would be resource intensive because these laws change all the time. Sometimes there's emergency regulations. Sometimes it's on the city level versus the state, right? These regulations we're talking about with Philadelphia that go into place in 2022, that's not the whole state. It's just the municipality of Philly.
Oh, wow.
So it would be really difficult, but if you picked maybe just the major cities where people travel to for work, that would be a cool resource.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, we have another caller. Hi, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm Lenny, and I'm calling from Brooklyn, New York.
Nice.
Cool.
Hey, Lenny.
So my question, I actually just changed it with the Amazon conversation that just happened. I guess my question is, in states where cannabis is legal, what strides have been made to release people who have been in prison for cannabis and who maybe have felonies because from cannabis use, and then what does that process look like in the future for releasing people who've been imprisoned for cannabis?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And it really overlaps with this employment stuff as well, because once you've suffered a conviction, you have to disclose it on your employment applications normally, right? So that can be a huge prohibition, by the way, not just to getting a job, but to getting stable housing. You can lose custody of your children over things like that. So, these remedies I'm going to talk about now aren't a cure-all. A lot of times if you've suffered those types of things, they're going to stay with you for the rest of your life, even if you can get them off your record. But the process for doing that is called expungement. In some states, it's called vacating the records. So when I talk about a vacation, I'm not talking about Florida, I'm talking about your criminal records. But when you get an expungement, you need to generally hire an attorney, get a whole bunch of records that show that you haven't been prosecuted since that crime you want to expunge, that it wasn't a certain type of crime, that you didn't have two convictions too close to each other in time. There's all of these qualifications. And once you can show all those records and get them to the court will rule on your order and they will either grant the expungement or not. But that's a really costly and time-consuming procedure that a lot of people, particularly those who have been disenfranchised by suffering a marijuana conviction, just don't have the ability to do. So what we're seeing in some cities, not even the states, we're seeing them at the city level, we're seeing some jurisdictions step up and automatically expunge some of these convictions. But overwhelmingly, those are limited to misdemeanors. They're limited to a certain number of convictions, certain years of convictions. So it's not a cure-all, but it is a huge step in moving forward because it takes that burden off the individual from going through that process with the court and takes care of it automatically. So for new states that come online, and especially for shame for states that have already come online and haven't done this, that's the action we need to see. So when you're thinking about going to your town halls and all of the political things you're going to be doing over the next couple of years, that might be something you really want to push, because it's as easy as an executive order for them, signing one piece of paper and getting it done for everybody in that community.
Thank you so much, Lenny. That was a great question.
Great question.
Let's change topics real quick. And this is something that we've been talking about a lot here at Wowee, and the people at home maybe aren't too up on it. Is social media censoring cannabis content?
Yes, I think we can pretty clearly say at this point, based on the circumstantial evidence, that they are censoring cannabis and that they are, even within the last 2 weeks, David, they've really started to push down even harder. I'm getting 10 to 20 calls a week in the last 2 weeks over social media being shut down, payment processors being shut down because of social media content, things like that. So we're starting to see a lot of policing in this space, and it's getting a little hairy.
I'm going to say, since I started hosting this show, some of my selfies, fewer likes. So I'm going to blame cannabis. I think the government knows what I do for a living, and they're like, no, we don't care that you bought it.
They don't want you to shine.
You know what I mean? They don't want me to shine. They don't care that I didn't go to prom and I seek validation on the internet to fix that hole in my heart that my childhood trauma caused. They don't care. So, am I the only one? I'm not. The Federal Trade Commission issue. You went to two. Wow, David, you play disc golf, you go to proms, you love boats, you can swim. We get it. If anyone wants to date David, he went to 2 proms. And he plays disc golf. Call 808-683-4791. He's still single, and he's looking for love. Wowee, wowee,
Even
love.
with all those skills.
What was the skill we shared yesterday that we were going to add?
Oh, I know how to
There's
make
something.
coldberry cranberry sauce.
Oh, yeah, fresh cranberry sauce. If Wowee HQ can please add that to his profile. Fresh
It's
cranberry
gonna make me look like
sauce.
Paul Bunyan. It's like a lot of tall tales.
I know. What are the legalities of me finding you a wife on the internet? Okay, so the
I
Federal
think
Trade
murky
Commission-
at best.
I'm not going to pay them. Issued 700
I'm not either,
penalties to
for the record.
The Federal Trade Commission issued 700 penalties to companies who posted content about cannabis. Do you know what they were posting and why this all pissed off Uncle Sam?
Yeah, so those letters that were sent out by the FTC, those weren't just for cannabis. And I think that's important because I think it really goes to show that the FTC is concerned about this, not just in our industry, but across the industries. And I think that shows that they have a real legitimate concern about what is being put on the internet and what is truthful and what's a fake customer experience, all of those types of things. So I think when you're looking at the FTC being aware of this, sending 700 letters out to companies even as big as Macy's, I think what you need to recognize from that is that they are putting some serious resources behind this enforcement action. So this isn't going to be the new rookies at the FTC coming in and messing around with some cannabis businesses. This is going to be the big dogs coming for your business just as hard as they're coming for multinational corporations.
Wait, what did Macy's do? Does
Same
Macy's
thing.
sell weed now?
No, because of their testimonials online, because of the way that they speak about their
Oh.
products, the way that they use third parties to review and use their products. All of those things are regulated, and it's just been a free-for-all in the industry. So add cannabis on top of
Yeah.
that, and you've made yourself an easy target.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That does make sense. Here's
Yeah,
a
so
question,
Yeah, go ahead.
and I understand if you don't want to talk about this.
Uh-oh.
Blink twice if you're in danger. Is shadow banning real?
Shadow banning is real. Yeah.
It is real.
Shadow banning is very real. And, we're seeing it from a circumstantial and an experiential standpoint, because that's, clients will have that experience. Just like Giulia was saying, you'll post one selfie and you'll get 100 likes. You post another and you get 14 likes. And all of a sudden you're back in like your 13-year-old bedroom, like crying yourself to sleep, right? So
Yeah.
you kind of...
Can you explain exactly what shadow banning is for people who don't know?
Yeah, and let me just explain that this is also my best guess. What we're doing on our end is we're hearing about the experiences of cannabis companies, and I'm also suffering them as well with some of my social media that I manage. But we're hearing the experiences of individuals. We're looking at the words they used, and we're looking at what's happening to their account and their likes, and we're trying to put together some ideas of what that algorithm is doing behind the scenes. So what we've determined is that these companies have a risk algorithm, just like the payment processors do. And what they do is they scour the content on your social media, everything from who you're interacting with to what hashtags you use to the actual images that are on your site and the image recognition. And what they do is they put that into the secret algorithm that they won't tell us about and is also constantly changing. And if you fall below a certain threshold, certain things start happening to your account. So one of the things you'll see from a lot of people who are getting shadow banned is if you go into your Instagram account and you go and attempt to make a promotion, if you see a history of rejected promotions or a tab that says you're not eligible to be promoting content, you're probably shadow banned. If your content has gotten so bad and so offensive, they will give you a suspension or a termination altogether, no notice, no ability to go recoup your intellectual property off there and take it anywhere else. It's just simply gone. So what we're trying to do is find out what conduct, what hashtags lead you to these certain consequences under the algorithm, and then trying to make that sort of stable despite the changing nature of these algorithms.
I mean, I think I can speak for David and myself in the comedy world. I mean, I'm convinced words like show, tickets, anything that's like promotional gets hidden, probably because they want you to be paying for ads and whatnot, right?
Well,
For
that's
sure.
true too.
Fart. President.
Wait, do you really think fart gets shadow banned?
I have a lot of complicated things to say online, Giulia. I'm not on Twitter anymore for a reason. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Maybe we trace this thing back to the top. Listen, I'm not going to say anymore. Do we have another caller?
We do have another caller. We have one last caller. Let's take this call. Hello, what is your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, my name is Nika and I'm calling from Rhode Island.
Hi, Nika.
Hey.
Can you guys hear me okay?
What? Yes, what is your question?
Well, you know, I have actually multiple questions here, but the first one, because it's like Thanksgiving time, when the president pardons the turkey, what in a legal sense is that turkey now allowed to do?
Wow.
Oh, that's so funny. That turkey is completely absolved of his federal crimes, so all of his wrongs against our nation are forgiven.
Can he get a job?
Well, he'll have to hire an attorney like us and go through an expungement likely, or he can seal the records. However, if that turkey was ever in custody, if that turkey had to do an alcohol, class, if he had to do an anger management class, those records will live with those entities. So even though you've gotten the expungement, we could still dig up some dirt on the turkey if we wanted to.
Fascinating.
Poor turkey.
Now we know.
I know. What did he do?
Thank you so much for calling.
Thank you.
I love it. That is
man.
so funny.
Okay,
I never
so we're
thought
gonna do
about
a
him
total
going
180.
out. Or could it be a her? Do you eat male and female turkeys? Is this a crazy question?
Oh, yeah. What is there? Is there a difference?
Is it like how you don't eat roosters, really? What's a boy
Is
turkey? A
roosters
tom?
male?
Can you eat a tom turkey?
Is that what it's called?
This
a
is
tom?
a big question.
Yeah. Right?
Can somebody at Wowee HQ Google this and let us know? Because now I'm curious.
Yeah. Yeah, we gotta.
Because I only want to eat male turkeys. Just kidding. What is the difference? I can't read that.
I can't. It seems.
I'm gonna
like
guess
the
male turkeys don't respond to texts as quickly. That's the main difference.
It looks like he's got like a lot more exciting plumage.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Is that what it is?
The males always do in nature, right? The males are always more beautiful and showy in nature.
Oh, that's the male with all the colors, and that's the female who's been carrying the emotional load of all the men and taking care of the kids and giving
Right.
birth and cleaning up all the sneakers. Is that what's going on with the female turkey? Is that why she looks so old and tired? All right, we're gonna do a total 180 from talking about turkeys and cannabis, and
And
we're
somehow
gonna discuss
sneakers.
sneakers. We're gonna talk about some of the most frivolous lawsuits that have ever been made to court, and you're gonna decide, Heidi, sue or don't sue. Our source for this game is USA Today. These are all real lawsuits that have been filed. Okay, so this is the first one. A man was really annoyed that his date to the movies was on her cell phone the entire time. Sue or don't sue?
Don't sue. Assumption of risk.
Oh?
Okay. All right, the lawsuit was dropped.
Yeah.
Because this guy's a little bitch. Like, what a loser.
Yeah. To spend,
No,
I mean,
yeah.
You must have paid a lawyer $10,000 to file that. I mean, what kind of...
Nothing ever good starts with a man was
watching?
annoyed.
I know, a man. Wait, okay, so it's 2017. Do you want to guess what movie they were seeing?
Fast and the Furious.
Oh. Good
No.
guess.
5, 6, 7, 8.
David.
I will guess they were, I want to think they were like in San Francisco or something, and they were seeing Love Actually, like a rescreening.
Aww.
No, they were in Austin. They were watching Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and she agreed to pay him the $17.31 for her ticket if he left her alone, so he withdrew the lawsuit. So it seems like what this was really about was the price of a ticket. And I'm going to say this to anyone watching. If you want to go on a date with David, he will not sue you if you're not perfect at the movies wherever you go. 808-683-4791. There's David making cranberry sauce with his heart.
Oh,
Won't sue.
I'm trying.
Won't sue.
Won't sue. I'm not litigious at all. I don't even show up for tickets. Just kidding.
No, I love that little date idea you just came up with off the top of your head. You should run a dating coaching service while you're at it.
Oh, man.
Nowadays, they're like, let's go for a walk. Mm-mm.
No.
Yeah. No, you
gotta
gotta spend
go to
at
a
least
barcade.
$17.31. Yeah, something.
I thought the walk ideal was cute. Okay, I have one. Okay, the Popeyes hot chicken sandwich craze. We all remember it. A lot of turmoil caused by a sandwich that is, well, totally not worth it. And here's one outcome. Popeyes kept running out of their chicken sandwich. Sue or don't sue?
I know consumers do this kind of thing a lot, so I think they probably did sue. But I don't think that it was successful. I don't think that they have any obligation to provide the sandwiches, right? That's what I would say.
Yeah, it says the trial's pending. Tennessee man sued Popeye's Chicken for $5,000 for running out of its famous chicken sandwiches because he claimed the restaurant wasted his time trying to fill his order. He said the company deceptively advertised the sandwich, which was only available for a limited time in August. He's also suing for damages to his car that he said occurred at the restaurant parking lot. So this guy is down bad in a lot of ways.
Oh, man.
That sounds like a bar exam question.
Is
It's
that
like,
what the bar exam is like?
Yeah, everything just keeps going wrong. And if it was a bar exam question, it would end with like, and then that car accident caused a nuclear explosion and the entire town was destroyed. Is Popeyes liable?
Would Popeyes be liable in that situation?
No, of course not. There has to be foreseeability. So even if you didn't intend to hurt someone, but your negligence, your failure to live up to a reasonable person or a reasonable standard happened, if you can find that that Popeyes was negligent in some way, then the only place the damages stop is what's reasonably foreseeable. So is it foreseeable that somebody could get into a car accident rushing over to get your Popeyes sandwich? If I was the plaintiff's lawyer, that's what I would say. But from a defense standpoint, anything really beyond that, any sort of bodily injury is probably not foreseeable or reasonable in any way.
Damn.
Okay. That's
All right,
fair.
these
totally
just keep
fair.
getting more insane. Okay, in 2012, a kidnapper. Okay, so you're a kidnapper. Your hostages escape because you're bad at kidnapping them, and they turn you into the authorities. Sue or don't sue?
As the kidnapper,
Yes.
definitely would not sue in that case.
In
you
committed a
2012,
crime.
yeah, a fugitive facing a murder charge kidnapped a Kansas couple in 2009, and he fell asleep and they escaped. The lawsuit was dismissed. that he thought he was going to get $75,000 in damages because they was a breach of contract. He claimed the couple had illegally binding agreement to hide him from the police.
Whoa. I mean,
Ooh.
to put yourself out there like that to the judge in the first place is absolutely ridiculous. But you can't contract to do something illegal in the first place. That's the primary rule of contracts. You can't contract to do something illegal. So even if they did say, okay, we'll hide you, you can't do it.
Doesn't
He
matter.
needs a drug test. That's some.
Yeah.
What is he on?
They should have pre-employment screened him for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I have the final one, and this is a shocker. You're attractive. Your spouse is attractive. You have a baby that's very ugly. Sue or don't sue? I'll give you the specifics. The husband sues the wife
Come on.
over ugly
That's not
baby.
a photo of the actual baby. It's not a photo of the actual baby, and that is going to haunt my dreams. It was a doll
Jian
for
Feng
anyone. No
from-
babies were harmed.
I won't say his name. He saw that his newborn daughter, who he said was incredibly ugly and did not look like other parent, he accused his wife of cheating on him. At that point, she admitted she had had several plastic surgeries before they had met. He sued on the grounds of false pretenses, claiming she misled him by hiding her cosmetic history. Sue or don't sue?
You know, if this had been some sort of business transaction, then you know, the commercial fraud rules would apply. And is there an obligation to disclose something like that in that context? I think there might be, but which sounds terrible.
Oh,
you know,
God. Oh, don't zoom in.
Well, let's say
Stop
she went and
these
got
images.
sperm from a sperm bank, right? And the guy had plastic surgery. I could see maybe there being a claim there. But, you know, what we do in the United States is consideration is not love and affection. You can't have a contract within a relationship that is based on love and affection. So if you tell someone, love and care for me for the last 10 years of my life, and I'll give you everything that I own, that you can't contract for that because love and affection is not consideration. So what's the
Come on,
contract?
guys.
You know,
That's not even a face.
That's not even a face. This is the content
That's
that
a
David
sex
was talking
toy.
about. That is the
Yeah.
fart content that got David shadow banned from Instagram.
Okay,
He
you
kept
found me
posting
out.
that.
You found, where can I go that my past won't keep getting kicked in my face?
Oh my gosh. No, I don't think that it's actionable in a regular love and relationship type of case. I don't think so.
Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but the plaintiff won. He won the case, and his wife was made to pay him more than $120,000.
Wow, really?
Which is
Whoa.
all going to pay for that child's therapy.
It was in
yeah,
China, though.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a little bit different because kind of the visual standards there are a little bit different than they are here, some of the cultural requirements. So I could maybe see a court thinking that there is a basis for fraud in that kind of social context. I don't know that would happen here in just a regular relationship, though. I don't know.
No,
but
you,
it would
you can have
It's-
ugly ass babies in America. That is the
Yeah,
rule.
I mean, no offense to my friends watching. Hi, guys. But I have a lot of friends who are beautiful, and their kids came out like little aliens. And by the time they
yeah.
hit 4 years old and they start looking more like the mom, everything's all good. But
Yeah, you
when
can
they
shake
first come
off
out, they
that
look like
baby
the
ugly.
dad. Oh,
we had some hard
man.
conversations in those interim years.
It's like, what's your hair doing?
Gonna
There's
stuck
a
in
lot
my
of
mouth.
ugly ass. Everybody gets 4 ugly years. That's just how it goes.
Wow, I
Yeah.
think you're both being real mean. And I'm going to take back my pitch to date David because he thinks babies are ugly.
I don't think that all
You heard it
babies
here
are ugly.
first.
Some babies
what I
have to
heard.
be ugly for other babies to be hot. That's the only way it works.
I guess you can
Yeah,
date him if you want.
I think those 4 years can fall anywhere. Some of us were pretty
Exactly.
babies, and then like age 11 to 15 is not anything I want anyone to see.
Exactly.
Yeah, I had a funny hair tooth thing going on.
You had a
Not
poof?
hair on my tooth. My hair was bad and my teeth were bad. 6th grade.
We'll get a picture soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should do a
man.
competition on social media, battle of the worst photo.
It's gonna get
You would
maybe
be
that'll get
surprised.
some likes.
I've always looked
You'll get
exactly
more
like
likes, but
this.
you'll be worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you know you're shadow banned. Put up a baby picture,
Yeah.
see if you're shadow banned. It's the only way to tell. Oh,
You're not
man.
just shadow banning you; they're aggressively insulting you with your worst content.
Yeah. This time it's personal. You hear me, Zuckerberg?
We see you.
Heidi,
We
thanks.
see-
We see you. Thank you so much for coming on. Guys, you can find her
you,
on
Heidi.
Instagram at Mary Jane Esquire. Seriously, thanks again so much. It was so much fun.
Thank you, guys. Great seeing you.
We'll see you next time.
Happy
you soon.
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
That is our show. Another one in the books. David,
We did it. We did
close
it.
with some Wowee wisdom. What did you learn today?
Apparently, people don't agree that there are as many ugly babies in the world as I thought there were. And you know what? That's okay. What did you learn today, Giulia?
I learned I'm gonna not give my pee to anyone who asks for it. And boy, oh boy, if you saw my DMs, you're not getting any of this pee. There we are. Oh man, Wowee headshot.
Weirdly enough, if you
guys-
saw my DMs, it's the same thing.
It's just me DMing you and you DMing me being like, oh, this is a stupid
Cavs.
bit. You guys, like and subscribe. We all got all sorts of jokes here. We got bad ones. We got good ones. Hopefully mostly good. Sometimes bad. And we got pee. Like and subscribe. Watch us again tomorrow, same time, and have a wonderful night. Don't give away your pee.